Well, amid all the economic uncertainty, it's more important than ever to be financially literate. That's especially true if you find yourself struggling to pay off your debt or even make the rent. Joining us live this morning, Mario Henry and Todd Lane from U.S. Housing Exchange, a real estate social media platform. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Talk about the importance of financial literacy. What does that mean?
Well, financial literacy is just like any other education. We went to school. Some of us went post high school, and we were in these institutions, and we learned a lot of different subjects. But financial literacy, unfortunately, was not taught to us. So I come from a sports background. I played for the Patriots back in the 90s. And we had a playbook. We had position coaches. We had every single avenue to learn a meaningless game. But in life, we don't learn these avenues. So then we are clueless as far as how a lot of our building blocks are going to win for us to survive.
Yeah, and just to add to what Mario said, when we were in college, they would have in the student centers where, hey, sign up for this credit card. But we had no real understanding of what that meant at that time. So it's very important because before you know it, many people, when we talk about student loan debt, a lot of times that's what happens to people because they don't understand the long-term ramifications.
Of course, student loan debt in the news last couple of weeks, the Supreme Court ruling, they have to pay that debt.
Yes.
A lot of folks dealing with that. When it comes to paying off debt, what legal rights should people be aware of?
Well, a lot of times with our legal rights, unfortunately, we're not taught that. We know that if we get pulled over, we know that we have to get our rights read to us and a lot of other different types of things we learn from TV. But with our federal rights in place to protect our rights, we're clueless. We don't know about the Fair Debt and Collection Practices Act. That's how the collection agencies, that's how they have to operate and give us our rights. So if we don't know what our rights are, how are we going to be able to contest when our rights are being violated?
And talk about collection agencies. They give you a call. It sounds very intimidating, very scary, but they're not a government agency. Do you have to listen to them? What do you have to, in dealing with them, how should you react?
Well, what you have to do, first off, you have to realize a collection agency, you didn't have debt with them. The attorney that's trying to contact you, you didn't have a contract with them. They're collecting on a third party. So you didn't have an obligation with them. So first you have to be able to prove the original creditor, and you have to be able to understand that they can violate your rights in that process. My son had a bill from a hospital. And so we audited them and said, okay, show us all the documentation that's necessary. Then they send over all the medical procedures he had done, including what he owed. And I said, okay, well, you violated HIPAA unless you could show the release. And then all of a sudden they stopped trying to collect that debt. So that doesn't mean that we're trying to get out of something. That means that we want to be able to understand what our rights are so we're not having our rights violated in the process of them collecting that debt.
Right. And it goes back to your first question about financial literacy and knowing what you don't know will hurt you when it comes to credit and when you're dealing with these collection agencies as well.
And Todd, there are a lot of financial myths about, for instance, closing credit cards that you're not using. Is that something you really want to do?
No, you don't want to do that. As me and Mario talk about all the time, we can't definitively prove it, but there's some type of conspiracy or algorithm where when you do close your credit card, it actually negatively impacts your credit score. What you want to do is make sure you keep a low balance, keep your utilization of your credit under about 15%, but you never want to close or totally pay off your credit cards because it actually goes against you negatively.
Plus, once you close it, 10% of your score is your age of your credit. So if you close that card that you've had for a long time because you're not using it, the algorithm will actually affect your credit. So yes, you do not want to close cards just because you're not using them.
Okay, good information. And Mario, where can people go for more information?
We have a lot of free tips for your viewers at creditaudit911.com. We believe in the education because we don't just want people to hire third parties. You have to understand your rights, and then we're expecting you to teach other people what their rights are since it's not taught to us. So please make sure that you are an educated consumer.
Gentlemen, great information. Great to have you here with us this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much
for having us.
Well, we do talk to experts several times a week here on our 7 a.m. stream.